Greetings, brothers and sisters. I'm Ernest Durham. I'm the president and the CEO of the Durham Corporation. We are a 39-year-old hair care products company, and we inspire black people to circulate their money in their communities. We inspire you to practice what we call intentional spending. That means that you will intend where your dollars are going to be spent. It's very important that we do that, brothers and sisters, because right now we're giving 98% of our money to other people. And as we get into the presentation, I'm going to show you all how that's taking place. I'm going to give you the following information, brothers and sisters, so you'll understand that it's time to do something to help ourselves. We've been talking about that for a long time, so long it's almost become a cliche. Black people doing something to help themselves. So we're going to also talk about the mistreatment of our people all over the world, brothers and sisters, not just in the United States, but all over the world. And this mistreatment is not going unpunished. Okay, so we are going to, like I said, we're going to have a short presentation, and then we need to have a discussion about some of these things that are taking place to let you all know that it's vitally important that we work together in a systematic program such as Black Wall Street so that we can get out of the financial rut that we've been living in most of our lives. A lot of our people, even though we're in the wealthiest country in the world, a lot of us are still living under the poverty level. And that's ridiculous when you see the amount of money that passes through black people's hands on a yearly basis. Now, one thing I want to discuss is that whenever a country doesn't give their citizens, and I'm speaking about us, what they deserve, like in our case, brothers and sisters, is reparations, it's equality, it's fairness, especially when it comes to borrowing money to go into business and to buy houses. We haven't been treated fair when it comes to those things. And as well as sharing the wealth of this country. You all know as well as I do that the wealth of this country has not been shared with black people the way it should be. It's shared with immigrants more than it's shared with us. And some of these people are just coming here to this country. So when a country doesn't do what it's supposed to do for its citizens who help build this country, then that country is going to have to give that money up in some other area. Even if they don't give it to us, they can't keep it. They're going to still have to give it up, and in some cases, they're going to have to give their freedom up because they haven't given us the freedom that we deserve, that's rightfully ours, so some of their freedoms will be taken away also. And you see that now with the shut-ins and not having the freedom to come and go at will. So all of these things are taking place as I speak, brothers and sisters. And the fact that Americans have been laid off and the unemployment rate in this country is predicted to go up to 30% in the second quarter of 2020. And experts are predicting that $2.2 trillion America will have in lost income. So these are some of the things that's coming back in the faces of a country who doesn't treat us fair, is what I'm saying. And to move on, up to April of this year, 22 million Americans are unemployed, brothers and sisters. 9.2 million American workers are without health insurance. And all these things are what we call repercussions. These are things that involve the law of sowing and reaping. What you put out comes back to you. It might not come back directly, but it's still coming back. And the Labor Department statistics show that only 71% of the American people who apply for unemployment are getting payments. And many laid off Americans are depleting their savings, brothers and sisters, while they're waiting on unemployment. This is one of the worst financial crises that this country have ever seen. But again, the law of sowing and reaping is in effect, regardless of what people may put it on. What you put out comes back to you. Now, 1/2 of 1% of the wealth in America belongs to blacks, brothers and sisters, because we work as individuals instead of in unity. We'd have a much larger percentage of that money if we worked in unity. And I'm talking about money to use the way that we want to buy the things that we and our families deserve. Now, black people as a whole hasn't progressed at all in about 150 years, brothers and sisters, when you look at our ability to borrow money for businesses and homes, as opposed to the immigrants who've been in this country for only a few years, and we were born here. So we haven't really made that much progress, especially when you see immigrants opening up stores in your neighborhoods and you can't open them up because the loans aren't available to you. I know people, and I'm going to take Houston, Texas, for instance. I know some people down there who were renting a house from some Vietnamese people. And this country just got through fighting a war with them several years ago. But they can come here and get business loans, and a black family who was born here in this country have to rent from them. There's something wrong with that picture, brothers and sisters. We've got 38% of our black people living under the poverty level. And there are more black people in prison in America than there are black people in Djibouti and Guinea. Those are two African countries, brothers and sisters. We've got more people in prison than the population of these two countries. And 98% of other races in America have their own communities, brothers and sisters, spending their money with their own people. 98% of them. And an example, well, I'm going to give you a few examples, like Chinatown. They have Chinese businesses. Koreatown has Korean businesses. Germantown has German businesses. German people buying and selling from each other. Dutch communities have Dutch people buying and selling from each other. Italian communities have Italian businesses. Polish communities have Polish businesses. Jewish communities have Jewish businesses. Russian communities have Russian businesses. Irish communities have Irish businesses, buying and selling from each other, and so on, brothers and sisters. But we as black people don't have communities with our own businesses. And you can tell that by walking up and down your neighborhood and see who owns the stores. We have neighborhoods, brothers and sisters, not communities. And these non-black people open their businesses in our neighborhoods. We can all attest to that. Your own communities is where you store your values, brothers and sisters. It's where you store your wealth, your history, your culture, your tax base, your businesses, and your employment opportunities. And we have none of that, brothers and sisters. And only 2% of American blacks work in their own communities where black people have businesses. 2%. While 98% of non-blacks have their own communities and their own businesses. And we only have 2%. See, wealth is the key to survival. And every race in America lives off the two incomes, brothers and sisters, which is 100% of their own money, because they circulate their money in their communities among each other, buying and selling from each other, like I said, brothers and sisters. But on the other hand, they also live off of 98% of black Americans' money. Let's think about that, as it's not too far-fetched, because black Americans typically don't have businesses in their neighborhoods. So they're living off of 98% of our money because we have to spend money with them. Well, we don't have to, but we do. So, consequently, brothers and sisters, while every other race lives off a double income, blacks live off 2%, and blacks will never survive in the future at that rate because they're spending their money in businesses that don't belong to them. This has been our plight, brothers and sisters, not having businesses to spend our money in. And the poor black people in America won't get much financial help from rich blacks either. And you see that. You don't see a lot of rich blacks doing things to help poor black people, because the people that made them rich won't allow them to align themselves with poor black people in this country. Because they've been pimping and hustling black people, brothers and sisters, leaving them with only 2% of their wealth. So they're not going to let rich black people come in and disturb that. That's not even good economics for them. So they put a threat on these rich black people, and they do very little to help us. I've always said if they really wanted to help, they could start factories, brothers and sisters, making everything that we buy and put all black people to work. If this thing was really done the right way. Whatever we buy, if it's gym shoes, make factories. Start factories making gym shoes. If it's whatever else, you know what we buy. We've got enough black millionaires to pool money together to start the factories and sell whatever we buy to us. Now, if black people were to receive help or were treated fairly, brothers and sisters, like I said, that would disrupt the profits of these other rich people who have a concerted effort to keep us in the position that we're in. Because remember, we spend about 98% of our money outside of our communities. And they're receiving 98% of our money, brothers and sisters. So you know they don't want anybody to come in and help us. They don't want to disturb that. This situation reminds me so much of the book of Exodus, brothers and sisters. For some of you all who go to church and you remember that story of Moses bringing the children of Israel out of Egypt. Well, the book of Exodus is where the plagues came upon Egypt. When Pharaoh, who's symbolic of many of the world leaders, brothers and sisters, and you have to look at it symbolically. Many of the world leaders today is symbolic of Pharaoh, who wouldn't let God's people go, which is symbolic of the bondage and bad treatment that black people are experiencing in just about every country that we live in. I mean, right now, over in China, if you look at the news, they're evicting Chinese out of apartments over there. African students out of apartments over there. African students are walking the streets, sleeping on park benches because they have nowhere to go. And only here recently, the Nigerian consulate, the ambassadors for the country of Nigeria there in China, those ambassadors have been speaking up for fair treatment for those African students. The problem with America is we don't have anybody to speak up for us. We don't have a country to speak up for us. So we have to do it with unity, brothers and sisters. If we're going to change things, we've got to do it with the unity. So it's about, even as I'm speaking, brothers and sisters, the world is being bombarded with the plagues of Egypt, is what I'm saying. In one form or another. Like in the form of the pandemic scare. This pandemic that everybody's afraid of right now. The severe storms. Look at the news. They've got some severe storms. I was just reading about something going on in Tennessee yesterday. Flooding, hurricanes, global warming, pollution, record-breaking heat waves, and during the winter months, brothers and sisters, severe freezing, and many different kinds of sicknesses, as well as a failing economy, brothers and sisters. Failing economies all over the world. And it's mainly, I know they put it on other things, but it's mainly because of the law of sowing and reaping. The way they treat our people. Whatever you put out is coming back to you in one form or another, and you see the plagues, and that's all they are. It might be symbolic, but it's still happening, brothers and sisters. And even at that, even though you see the plagues coming, and all this hardship for these people, these countries still find the time, brothers and sisters, just like Pharaoh, to practice racism, hatred, and discrimination against the black children of the earth. They still find the time for it, because that seems like that's their most important initiative. to discriminate against us, to hold us down. And this is symbolic of these countries' leaders not letting God's people go, brothers and sisters, which would be to give them freedom from all the bad and unfair treatment. All this stuff that I've just mentioned, the bad and unfair treatment, as well as withholding the world's wealth from us. We're living under the poverty level in the richest country in the world, brothers and sisters. 38% of us are. So the wealth has been withheld from us, and foreigners are coming here enjoying the wealth, is what I'm saying, with business loans and homes for houses and anything else that they want. See, this is why the idea of recreating Black Wall Street is so important for us right now, brothers and sisters, because it puts us in a better position in the economic scheme of things. All we have to do is work together. It's very simple. It's very simple. We can get out of the rut that we've been in. We just need to work together. The Durham Corporation wants to set us up in your own small startup businesses, brothers and sisters, as distributors of my hair care products. And we've talked about that before. Just like the Asians and the Arabs do when they come into your neighborhood and sell our products to you. We're talking about doing the same thing that they're doing. They have the formula. We can look at that formula. They come into the neighborhood and they sell products to you. And that's what we've got to do. Selling is the key word, brothers and sisters. I don't care what it is, but you've got to sell something if you're going to be financially secure in this country or around the world. You've got to sell. That word cannot continue to be a poison in your mouth because you don't want to be bothered selling. We've got 2% of the country's wealth here, so, to deal with, to work with. 2%. And we give 98% away to people who sell to us. Think about that. Because they sell to us, they have 90% of our wealth, brothers and sisters. We've got to learn from them. We've got to learn from Black Wall Street. They were buyers and sellers. They were not just buyers. They bought from each other and sold to each other. And that's exactly what we have to do moving forward. And all you have to do with this scenario that I'm talking about is buy one bottle and sell 2 bottles over and over to the same 2 people. And we don't have to go too deep into that because we've got it on other messages of recreating Black Wall Street. This is number 11. So you all can go back and look on YouTube at number 1 through 10. And it tells you everything that needs to take place. But the main thing for you to know is you're buying 1 bottle and you're selling 2 bottles to the same people over and over. And see, when you look at it, this is the same concept that Mary Kay and Amway used to get rich. It's the same concept, brothers and sisters, but with a lot less work because they have to sell, in those programs, you have to sell to a lot more people than just 2. But we have a system where all you need to do is sell to 2 people. And we can circulate that money. And that's what it's about, circulating the money. So everybody can receive a check. I want to teach you that circulating the price of 1 bottle of product between us, brothers and sisters, will create black wealth. But I can only show you the way to financial freedom. I can't make you accept it. I can only show you the way. And recreating Black Wall Street is definitely the way. And like I've always said, Hispanics circulate their money 6 to 8 times before it leaves their community. And many of them are just getting here. Some are illegal. But they even know the concept of wealth. Even though they might be coming from a very poor country, brothers and sisters, without a lot of opportunities like we have. But they still know the concept of wealth. They circulate their money 6 to 8 times, spending it with each other, buying from and selling to each other. And this is why they're moving so far ahead of us in this country. And we've been here for hundreds of years, and many of them are just getting here. Whites circulate their money 8 to 12 times, brothers and sisters, before they allow it to leave their community, buying from and selling to each other. Asians and Arabs circulate their money 13 to 14 times. Jewish people circulate their money 18 times. And the lifespan of the black dollar, brothers and sisters, is 6 hours. 6 hours after we get paid, we take it to somebody else's business and give them our money. And that's the gist of the thing. That's it in a nutshell, brothers and sisters. That's why we're in the financial condition that we're in. 6 hour lifespan with our money. So 1 out of every 20 Asians or Arabs has a business. 1 out of every 35 whites has a business. 1 out of every 53 Hispanics has a business. 1 out of every 105 blacks has a business, brothers and sisters. And business is the foundation of any race's wealth. We need more businesses. This is why Durham Corporation wants to set you up in your own small business. And it doesn't have to be large. It can be small. The whole idea is buying from and selling to each other. This is what I have to get across to you all. It don't have to be a huge store. We can accomplish the same thing, buying from and selling to each other on a small scale to the same people over and over and over. If I can make you understand the power that we have from buying from and selling to each other, brothers and sisters, then our dollars will continue to circulate in our communities, at least 8 to 12 times, which will in turn strengthen our position in America, especially as far as racism and discrimination is concerned, things like police brutality. But it's up to you to say that you've had enough. You've had enough living under the poverty level. You've had enough going without things that you know that you and your family deserve. This country was built on your backs, the backs of your ancestors. You deserve it, brothers and sisters. But it's common now knowledge that they're not going to give it to us. So unity is the way to get it, is what I'm saying. I can't make it any plainer than that. They're not going to give it to us. We've been talking about reparations for years. And everybody else has gotten reparations. The Japanese got reparations. The Jewish people got reparations for something that happened in Germany. The Native Americans got reparations. We built the country, brothers and sisters, free labor. And we can't get reparations. So if we were going to get it, we would have had it by now. So we've got to do it through unity, is what I'm saying. But you've got to say to yourself that you've had enough, and you're going to work together, and you're going to reach out to people, like-minded people, and make this thing work. That's where our salvation is going to come from. Our financial salvation is going to come from unity. It may not come from the 40 acres and a mule. It may not come from the reparations. But I know it will come from us working together on some small scale. That's where it's going to come from. Now, you've heard me say this now. We're black Americans with $1.2 trillion in spending power collectively. That doesn't mean that we're going to take that $1.2 trillion and get out of poverty. We have it collectively. But everybody, as long as they're going in different directions with that money, brothers and sisters, you'll never experience that much wealth. You won't experience that kind of wealth. That's a lot of money. That's more money than most countries have. But we have it collectively. We just have it going, giving it away in all different directions. That's the problem. But see, with that kind of spending power, we're the only black people in the world that has the economic strength, brothers and sisters, to change our condition from poor to rich. We're the only ones. But we've got to change our mindset. And it's probably something that's been embedded from slavery. That's why when you talk to these people, you have the trouble that you have with them with something as easy as what we're doing. It's from slavery. And it's not all out yet, brothers and sisters. They've been programmed not to trust each other. They've been programmed to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in other people's programs or schemes to make them rich, and always come up with an empty sack. But when we come along with something, somebody that looks like us or look like just like them, they don't trust them. That's programming, brothers and sisters. But glory be to God, all of our people are not spiritually asleep, and those are the ones that you have to find. That's what's going to get you to the promised land, finding those people, the ones who think like you. They're out there. It's just the ones who are spiritually asleep that we see most of, doing all the things that, we've talked about on other messages here, on other broadcasts, like spending $1 billion a year on Timberlands, $4 billion a year on Air Jordan, stuff like that. I understand that the stores just opened back up and the people were lined up to buy Air Jordans. Lines around the corner. The nail shops opened back up in Atlanta, and black women were around the block lined up to spend money with somebody else to get their nails done. It's hard for me to believe that there are no black women who do nails. That's hard to believe. But this is where our mindset is right now, and this is what we have to work with. So God bless them, brothers and sisters. We have to lead by example. That's why it's so important that you all start making money in what we're doing so you can show your checks to these people. Because a lot of them have to see something first. Now, another good thing about this distributorship that the Durham Corporation wants to set you up in is that we also have a newsletter, brothers and sisters, on natural cures. Something that's very viable for today. We're talking about natural cures that will strengthen your immune system, brothers and sisters, to help prevent many different diseases and sicknesses. Things that are going around today. You hear about it in the news. Some of you all have masks on right now when you go out, concerning this coronavirus. Things like cancer, diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, and many other sicknesses, brothers and sisters. There are natural cures for these things without getting off into a lot of prescription drugs. They're natural cures. And we're connected with some doctors, some natural cure doctors who have written a lot of information out on these things and provided it for us. So we have a newsletter that we want to circulate among ourselves. So you all can make money with that, brothers and sisters. The Durham Corporation can hire everybody in America to sell these newsletters because a lot of people in America are concerned about their health. So this is a no-brainer. You can sell your newsletter to 5 people, brothers and sisters, for $2 each. So nobody can say they can't afford it. And nobody can really say they don't need it because everybody either needs it themselves or have friends or relatives that need these newsletters on how to cure yourself from a lot of different ailments that are going on out there. People need to know how to protect themselves from the coronavirus, brothers and sisters. They need to know how to build their immune systems up to protect themselves. People don't have to be sick. It's a weak immune system. So when the disease comes into the body, you don't have anything strong enough to fight it off. There's certain things that you don't need to be eating. There's certain food substances that wreck the immune system and weaken it. And there's certain foods that strengthen the immune system. And these newsletters reveals what those things are. So something that we can all use. It's only $2. You're going to sell it to your same 5 people twice a month. And you're going to receive $2,000 a month in the same system that we're talking about with the hair care products. We're going to circulate the money the same way, brothers and sisters. Nobody can say they don't have $2, and nobody can say they don't know anybody who can use these cures. Okay, so you can either do that with the newsletter and earn $2,000 a month, or just sell just 2 bottles of our hair care products and earn anywhere from $500 to $1,500 a month, depending on how long you want to stay in the cycle to receive your money. If you come out in a third of a time, you'll get $500. If you stay in for the full duration, you'll receive $1,500. But with the newsletter, you can receive $2,000. And it's a no-brainer, because some people may say, well, I don't need any hair care product. Some people may say, I'll buy the product, but I don't need to get in the program. I've heard that a lot too. So the newsletter is a no-brainer, brothers and sisters. So let's, get together on that and get these newsletters circulating to get some money in you all's pocket so we can stamp out poverty among our people. And getting back to the hair care products, we have products for all hair types, brothers and sisters, so let's keep that in mind. Straight hair people, wavy hair people, people wearing natural hair. We have products for all hair types. Now, another thing I want you all to consider here is that Black Americans, about 43% of all cell phones in America, 23% of the televisions, 21% of the radios, 18% of the internet, and we buy more designer purses and clothes than any other race, brothers and sisters. And even though we only about 14% of America's population, it's been reported that we commit 63% of the crime in America, and 37% of our black men are incarcerated. Okay. And this is because of poverty, brothers and sisters. Poor people are treated like this. Now, we have the money collectively not to be poor. We're the 12th richest country within a country, Black Americans, in the world. So we have the money between us, but we give it away. So now we only get to use like 2% of it. That's why so many poor black people in America, and that's why they're treated like poor people, even though we have the money, which is ridiculous to me. Having the money, but you're still treated like a poor person. The 12th largest economy in the world, but you're still treated poor. So collectively, black people in America has the 12th largest economy in the world, and the other 11 countries that have more spending power than us is Russia, brothers and sisters. As big as Russia is, they have more spending power than Black Americans. And I'm not talking about Africans in Africa or black people in the Caribbean or anywhere else. I'm talking about American blacks. So Russia has more spending power than us. Canada has more spending power. Mexico has more spending power. Brazil